Okay, so we're going to start out in a seated position. Good morning, everyone. If you want to have a block handy, I don't know that you can have a strap handy too if you happen to have one. And we're going to start out in a seated position. So finding a position that is comfortable for you. You can sit with the legs crossed. You could sit on a chair. You could sit kneeling, the legs out in front of you. And wherever you are, beginning to invite length into the body, length into the spine. Beginning to establish a sense of being rooted down on the mat. Noticing the places that are making contact with the mat. Feeling a sense of being grounded in those spaces, and then a sense of length. Picking the rib cage up and away from the pelvis and hips. Lifting the crown of the head, releasing the shoulders. And at the same time, inviting some softness into the face, the jaw, the shoulders. And here, if you can, envisioning a mountain-like quality. So envisioning your body as being rooted at those places of contact, and then lengthening up through the crown of the head, almost as if your head were the peak of the mountain, the shoulders, the slopes, your legs and hips, the base. Simply embodying that sense of being rooted and grounded, stable and solid. And if it helps, you can envision a mountain in your mind's eye. One of the things I really enjoy about this image is the fact that you can think about all of the different things that happen around a mountain. The changing weather, the changing climate, droughts, rain, storms, and the mountain continues to be stable and grounded, relatively unchanging. It can sometimes be a helpful image to conjure when we're feeling a little off balance. So taking a few more moments with that image, with this sense of being grounded and rooted. Continuing to breathe naturally, we'll take the hands to the shoulders so that the elbows are out in front of us, as if the upper arms were just kind of sitting on a shelf in front of us. And we'll take a few circles, just drawing some circles with the elbows. We're going to be working a bit today on upper body stretching and strengthening, mobility, the shoulders and the neck and the upper back, and then reverse direction of those circles. Maybe making them a little bit bigger. And then coming back to stillness, we'll take the hands to the back of the head and open up through the chest. drawing the shoulder blades a little bit closer together, lifting the chest, keeping length in the neck. Fingertips can come kind of to that base of the skull area and just draw a little more length there. And then with the next exhalation, you can round a bit through the upper back, drawing elbows towards one another. And then inhale, lift, moving with the breath a few times. Inhaling to lift and open, drawing shoulder blades together. And exhaling, drawing shoulder blades apart, contracting through the front body. And then we'll release the arms down and take a few shoulder rolls here. Nice and easy, lifting the shoulders forward, up, back, and down. Taking things in that direction for a few rounds. And then moving in the opposite direction, bringing the shoulders forward in a circular motion. And coming back to center. We'll take our left ear over towards our left shoulder, and you can take your left hand and really gently just allow it to rest on the head, inviting a little more stretch there. You can reach your right arm, kind of pressing that heel of the hand away. And then we'll place the right hand down onto the mat. Keep that left hand and take it to the back of the head. And we'll exhale, take that left elbow over towards the right knee. And then inhale, draw that elbow up towards the ceiling. Taking that just a couple more times. And then coming back up to center. And we'll take our right hand now to the back of the head. Inhale, open, and then exhale, draw right elbow over towards that left knee. And inhale, open back up. Taking that a couple more times. Inhaling up and exhaling down. And coming back to center, taking that right hand, just kind of gently pressing it onto the right kind of side of the head and drawing that ear down towards the shoulder. At the same time, taking that left hand and reaching it down, getting a stretch on that opposite side of the neck. Breathing into tightness, inviting in some length, inviting some softness into the face. And then gently coming back up to center. We'll take some circles here through the upper body, just bringing the hands to the knees and circling the torso around. Feeling the weight shifting on the pelvis. And then as you're ready, reversing directions. And once again, sitting up nice and tall, we'll crawl the fingertips forward into a easy kind of forward fold, not forcing anything here. Continuing to allow the face and the jaw to be nice and easy. And then walking those hands behind us, lifting through the chest, drawing the shoulder blades apart. You could lift the hips up off of the mat or keep them planted. Either way is fine. Expanding through the chest, feeling a stretch through the front of the body. And then coming back to center. From here, we're going to switch the cross of the leg. So take that opposite leg in front, and we'll begin to walk the hands forward once again, folding forward, feeling that stretch in the upper back, obviously in the hips too, but kind of focusing on that upper body today. And then walking the hands behind, lifting the chest, opening up, feeling that stretch now through the front body. And if you'd like to, you can lift the hips. And release down from that. From here, if you want to go back to your other more natural way of having the legs, that's fine. Inhaling, reaching the arms up. Taking another breath here on the exhale, rooting down through the hips, the legs. And on the inhale, reaching the fingertips up a little higher. And on the next exhale, we're going to take a twist. So taking that left hand over towards the right knee, right hand behind, encouraging length through the whole torso. Collarbone is nice and broad here, chest is open. And nice and easy, we're going to take our gaze out over the left shoulder, getting a little more of a neck stretch. Some of the muscles around the collarbone and the chest. And then just as easy, bringing the head back in line with the spine and inhaling, opening and lifting. And we'll exhale, take that twist in the opposite direction, continuing to root down firmly and evenly through both hips. Establishing that sense of length and broadness through the chest. And then from there, taking that gaze out over the right shoulder, not forcing anything. Continuing to encourage that left shoulder open. And then again, nice and easy, taking the chin back in line and gently untwisting. From here, opening up the elbows, so you're kind of in goalpost arms, elbows in line with the shoulders. Inhaling here and then exhaling, drawing forearms towards one another. Inhaling to open and exhaling, drawing together. Feel free to stay here. Feel free to take hands to opposite shoulders, or feel free to take your left elbow underneath the right for eagle arms. Then you can take your left fingertips over towards the palm of the right hand, or you could have backs of the hands together. Lifting the arms, the elbows and the upper arms away from the chest, reaching the fingertips up towards the ceiling, sitting up nice and tall and feeling that stretch to the shoulders and the upper back. And then as you exhale, if you'd like to, you can kind of take those upper arms in towards the chest, around the back a little bit. And then as you inhale, take those fingertips up a little bit higher, maybe take the gaze up as well. Just staying in a range of motion that's okay for you. We'll do that one more time. Exhaling down and rounding, inhaling up and lifting. And we'll inhale, open the elbows, and exhale. This time you can have forearms together, or you can take that right elbow underneath the left into eagle arms. Finding what works on this side. It might be a little different than the other side. And once you've established that, you can invite some movement into it. First, reaching those upper arms away from the chest, lifting the fingertips, and then exhaling, rounding, drawing the shoulder blades away from one another, and inhaling, lifting. Moving with the breath, allowing the head and neck to come along for the ride. And then releasing from that, and just perhaps shaking the arms out or moving in a way that feels good for you to kind of release that a little bit. We are going to come to all fours for cat-cow, but if you don't want to come to all fours, you can do your cat-cow seated with the hands behind the thighs. Before we start our cat-cow, we're just going to start with the very upper back. So plugging the hands down onto the mat, elbows pretty straight, but not super locked. Spine is long, and then we're going to just dip the chest a little bit, keeping the elbows pretty straight, drawing the shoulder blades towards one another, and then push through the hands, draw the shoulder blades away from one another. And then taking that a few more times, just kind of a protraction and retraction. Taking that a couple more times, drawing the shoulder blades apart and together, moving through the shoulders. And then coming back to neutral. And we'll come into our cat-cow now. So rounding through the upper back, tucking the tailbone, drawing the navel towards the spine, and then inhaling, lifting the chest, lifting the tailbone, moving the spine with the breath, moving from flexion to extension, incorporating the pelvis, the shoulder girdle, the spine, the neck. And then one more time, pausing in neutral. From here, if you want, you can incorporate the leg movement. So we're going to take the right knee in towards the nose, squeeze the abdominal area, coming into the cat pose, and then coming into cow pose, lifting that ball of the foot up towards the sky. And exhaling, knee to nose, squeezing the belly. Inhaling, ball of the foot up towards the sky, stretching out through the front body. Exhaling, knee to nose, and inhaling, ball of the foot up towards the sky. Releasing that side, we're going to take the left knee towards the nose, draw the shoulder blades apart, squeeze the core, tuck the tailbone, and then inhale, ball of the foot up towards the sky, lift the chest, open up. Taking that a few more times at your own pace. As you come into the knee to the nose, really squeezing through the core. And then when the ball of the foot comes up, you're stretching through the front body, engaging a little bit more through the back body. And the last time, releasing from that. And we're going to just kind of tuck the feet underneath us and make our way up to a standing position. Feet are evenly rooted down onto the mat, arms nice and easy. We'll take the hands, I'll just turn this way for a moment. Take the hands and turn the palms of the hands forward in an effort just to lift the chest a little bit more, open up. Invite some length into the spine. And then from here, we'll reach the arms back. If it's okay with your shoulders, you're going to lace the fingers and just find a slight lift. If that's not okay for the shoulders, totally fine to keep the hands parted and reach the arms back. Another option for those of you who do have a strap, it's always okay to use a strap and perhaps get a little more range of motion that way. With the next exhalation, knees will bend and we'll take the belly and chest towards the thighs with or without the laced fingers, with or without the strap. Arms reach up. Crown of the head can be heavy here. And then we'll release the hands and sweep them through as we come all the way up to standing, reaching up here, taking a lift through the chest as you gaze up towards the ceiling. And exhale, take the arms behind, lace the fingers, lift the chest, fold forward with bent knees. We'll take that just a couple more times. Inhaling, reaching up skyward. Exhaling, taking the arms behind. Inhaling, lifting the chest. Exhaling, bending the knees to fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up when you're ready. And last time, taking those arms behind, lacing and lifting, folding and bending, And then reaching all the way up. And exhaling, releasing the hands back down to your sides. You can take the hands and turn the thumb side out away from you, palms of the hands forward, lifting through the chest. And inhaling, reaching the arms up. Palms of the hands can come together or they can part as we fold forward. Hands can be on the mat, the shins, the chair if you have one, the floor. Inhale, find a halfway lift, lengthening up here, reaching the chest forward. Taking a couple breaths here. And then exhale, fold everything back in. We're going to step the right leg back into a lunge position. And we're going to make our way up to a standing lunge. If you want, you can be down in a low lunge with that right knee down on the mat. Either one is fine. Frontal hip points, if you want to take the fingertips there for a moment, frontal hip points are pretty much attempting to aim relatively forward relative to your structure. You can even take the hands and just kind of gently pull the pelvis kind of down and away from the rib cage as you pull the rib cage kind of up, creating a little more length through the side waist. And then from there, we'll hinge forward, taking right hand down to the mat. We'll reach the left arm up towards the sky. And then if you'd like, you can take a few big circles here with that left arm, circling up and back. If you want to follow along with your head, you certainly can, or you can keep your head and neck neutral. And then we'll reverse direction. And then replace that left hand. You can come down onto your right knee for the transition or simply step left foot back to meet the right in downward facing dog. Paddling out the feet here or finding stillness. I like to pedal out the feet, just kind of move through them in an organic way that is probably different than the way that I did it last time, just kind of feeling into it, maybe doing a little side to side, maybe slower or quicker, rolling through the feet, or of course finding stillness. Shaking the head no, releasing the jaw. And then on the next exhalation, you can make your way through to plank position. If you're in plank, feel free to be on the knees or on the balls of the feet. Crown of the head reaches forward, shoulders neutral, neck long. And exhaling, lowering all the way down to the mat, uncurling the toes, inhaling up for cobra, and exhaling down. We'll take that one a couple more times. Inhaling up, just very little pressure on the hands, using the strength of the upper back, and exhaling, lowering back down to neutral. One more time, inhaling up, and exhaling down, taking hands. You can make a little pillow for yourself. Rest the head for a moment. And then from here, turning the head neutral, you can have the forehead just kind of hovering above the mat so that the neck is pretty neutral. You're not having to do a ton of work to keep it lifted. And then you're going to take your arms alongside you with the thumbs facing towards you, palms of the hands up towards the sky. Starting to root down a little bit through the pubic bone, engage the quadricep muscles, lift the kneecaps nice and sturdy through the low body as we begin to lift through the upper body. Just a little bit, lifting the chest, keeping length in the spine, making sure there's not pain or a ton of contraction in the low back, reaching the heart slightly forward, engaging through the legs, lifting the chest up slightly. It's not going to be a huge range of motion. One more breath here, continuing to invite openness through the front body, drawing the shoulders open. And then you can plant the hands again and rest to the other side with the face down onto the mat. We'll do that one more time, coming back to neutral. Arms at your sides. This time, if you want, you can lace the fingers at the low back if that feels acceptable in your body. Thumb nails are closest towards the back and pinky nails are kind of up towards the ceiling. Engaging through the legs like we did before, and then just starting to slide those thumbnails down the back a little bit as you lift the chest and the heart. Keep length in the body, keep the pelvis rooted down so you're not creating a lot of strain in the low back. Couple more breaths here. And exhaling, releasing down. You can take your hands again, stack them. You could do windshield wiper legs. You could press back to child's pose, or you could go into downward facing dog. And eventually we'll all meet in downward facing dog when you're ready. Either finding stillness there or continuing to move a little bit. Maybe shaking the head no, maybe shaking the head gently yes. Just kind of releasing a little bit more through the face, the jaw, neck. And from here, if you like to take your transition to lunge by coming to all fours first, you can do that, or you can step your right foot forward between the two hands to come into your lunge pose. Right knee will be stacked on top of right ankle. Once you get there, you can drag it along with the back or with your hand, kind of pull it into place if you'd like. And then coming up to standing. Frontal hip points will reach forward, finding that standing lunge position. Inviting some length into the torso, pulling the hips kind of down and away from the rib cage as you reach the crown of the head up. And then from here, hinging forward, taking that left hand down, right arm reaches up, and we'll find that circular motion. Just making a big circle through the chest, through the shoulder. And then taking that circle in the opposite direction. And pausing in a side twist, just reaching that right arm up. And with the next exhalation, taking right hand down towards the mat and left foot steps forward to meet the right. We'll take our halfway lift here, reach the chest forward. And exhale, folding forward. Rooting through the feet to rise. We'll come all the way up to standing, reaching there. And exhaling, releasing the arms back down towards the sides. Thumbs can point away from you, chest is open. And then you can either bring the hands to the hips, or if you want to hold on to something, hold on to something. We're going to step the left foot back, preparing to come into warrior one legs. So that left foot angled up towards the top left corner of the mat. Make sure your stance is wide enough that you can feel stable as you lunge through the right knee. Right knee pretty much stacked on top of the right ankle. Make sure your stance is long enough that you feel kind of a contraction a little bit through those left glutes. Chest can turn forward. And here, if you'd like, you can take the hands to lace at the low back. We're going to bring both hands over to the left hip, and you can kind of keep the hands laced so the palms of the hands are hugging towards one another, and then draw the elbows towards one another as well. So that right hand is just kind of pressing against the left hip, elbows draw towards one another. And then coming back to center, hands can come back to the hips. We'll keep our right hand plugged in, and we'll take that left hand and reach it up and over. Left arm reaches up and over for a side bend. Then come back to center. Take that left hand to the left hip and then reach the right arm up and over for a side bend the other way. A little bit awkward. Just keeping your balance there. And then coming back to center. Taking your right knee straight, stepping a little bit closer together for pyramid. Hands can rest at the low back just to keep the chest open, and we'll bow forward halfway or so, keeping that length in the spine, keeping a bit of softness in the right knee, reaching the right hip back and away from the right rib cage. Keeping the chest somewhat lifted here as the hands remain at the low back for another breath or two. Trying to keep the back pretty level, like a tabletop. And then from there, if you'd like to take it into slightly more of a passive stretch, you can take the hands down to the surface underneath you and just enjoy that stretch for a few breaths, hinging at the hip. Breathing here. And then rooting, especially through that big toe side of the right foot, and we'll come up to standing. From here, hands can come to the heart, or if you want to take the hands to the low back again, I don't know if that's getting to be too much for your shoulders, just kind of check in with yourself for your shoulders and your chest. If you are fine with that, you can have the hands at the low back. We're going to come into warrior 3. So we'll take that left heel and flex it as we reach it back, hinging forward at the hip. And then those thumbnails again, just kind of reach back, hands reach back, heart reaches forward. If you don't like that, you can have hands parted and they could be at your sides with the palms of the hands facing up. If it's better for you to hold on to something, definitely hold on to something. Keeping that sense of length through the spine and openness through the chest. And then gently stepping the left foot back down to meet the right. Releasing the shoulders, just kind of shaking that out a little bit. And from here, we're going to step the right foot back into warrior 1. Hands can be at the hips. Just again, kind of pulling those hips down and away from the rib cage as you reach the crown of the head up. Feeling that sense of elongating through the spine. And then if you did it on the other side and you want to do it on this side, taking those laced hands over towards that right hip, and you can kind of squeeze the hands together, squeeze the palms of the hands together, and then draw the elbows towards one another. Just letting that left hand be supported by that right hip, kind of digging in just a little bit there for a little more stability. One more breath here, continuing to plug down through that pinky edge of the right foot. And then releasing from that. Hands come back to the hips. We'll take that left hand, leave it where it is, and reach the right arm up and over for a side stretch. Feels just a little bit awkward, so just kind of be mindful of balance and stability. And then releasing, right hand down. We'll reach that left arm up and over. Right hand can be on the right hip, plugging in there. And then coming back to center. Hands can lace or not. They can be at your sides or whatever is best for you as we come into warrior three, hinging at that hip, keeping that length in the spine as you reach the right heel back. Don't worry, I know what I forgot. I got a little bit ahead of myself. We'll come back to it. Continuing to reach that right heel. And then let's place that right foot back down and bring our feet into pyramid. So just kind of about hip width distance apart. You can start out with the hands on the hips, or again, if it's okay, if it's not getting to be too much to have those hands behind you, if that's starting to bother the shoulders, then just back off of that a little bit. We'll begin to hinge forward at the hip, keeping the spine long, the chest open, reaching that left hip back and away from the left rib cage, reaching the crown of the head forward, trying to create as much of a tabletop back here as possible. And find a bit of softness, not a bend, but a bit of a softness through that left knee. And then if you want to make that just a little bit more passive, you can allow the arms to kind of dangle. Hands can connect with blocks, mat, chair, whatever kind of surface you might have available here. And breathing here. And then we'll step that right foot forward to meet the left and find a halfway lift, reach the chest forward. And on the next exhalation, fold forward. And then rooting through the feet to rise, coming all the way up. And we're going to bring the feet about hip width distance apart. Or not, this isn't hip width distance, my hips aren't that big. We're gonna do wider than hip width. And we're gonna do our feet so that the heels are angled out and the toes are angled in. I was just trying to figure out what that noise was. I got distracted looking out the window. I'm like, what is going on out there? All right, so from here, we're going to take the hands to the hips and fold forward. Taking hands down towards the mat, finding a wide-legged forward fold now. Length is in the spine. Head is heavy. You can shake the head gently, no. You could shake the head gently, yes. Just and allow kind of a letting go here in the upper body. And then with the next inhalation, taking some length into the spine, finding a neutral or tabletop back. And we'll bring the right hand towards center, reach that left arm up towards the sky, opening up, trying to keep the hips pretty stable and steady. Opening up through the upper body. And then exhaling, releasing that down. We'll plant the left hand at center, reach that right arm up, opening up through the chest as we try to keep the hips pretty level and steady. Reach the crown of the head forward and the spine and tailbone reaches back and away from the crown of the head, creating length here as we rotate, as we twist, and then the exhale coming back to center. From here, you can bring some softness into the knees, or you can keep them pretty straight as you come up to a standing position. We're going to turn those right toes out towards the right and take a lunge or bend into that right knee for warrior two. Inner thigh stays open, arms can reach. Pulling the navel in towards the spine. And then from here, you can take the forearms towards one another, or like we did when we started out, you can take that left elbow and tuck it underneath the right for eagle arms. Continuing to reach those elbows up and away from the chest, reach the fingertips up towards the sky. And releasing down from that. We'll pivot the feet one more time so that the heels are out and the toes are in our wide-legged stance, hinging forward at the hips. And allow some letting go to occur in the upper body. Sometimes I even like to take the palms of the hands so they're up towards the ceiling, backs of the hands on the ground. Inviting just a bit more looseness and letting go in the upper body. And then climbing or lifting back up to standing. We'll turn those left toes out towards the left. Coming into warrior two on this side. Making sure your stance is long enough that you're getting a nice stretch here. Reaching the outer thigh kind of back and away so that you've got some openness through the inner thigh. That knee will follow kind of along towards the middle toe if possible. And then from here, you can bring the forearms together, or you can take that right elbow underneath the left for your eagle arms. Breathing here. And releasing down from that. Taking the feet and just heel toeing them back towards one another. Finding ourselves now we're about hip width distance apart. Hands can come to the hips if you'd like. And we're going to come into tree pose. So you can take a bend in your left knee. Take that left knee out towards the left. Bring it up a little bit higher or keep it down a little bit lower. Whatever works best for you. Hands could come to the heart here if you'd like. And then just as another option, you can take your left hand to your left hip and then just start to reach that right arm up and over. And coming back to center as you're ready. And from here, you can take a bend in that left knee. Take that left knee out towards the left. You can bring it up a little bit higher on the inseam of the leg. breathing here. And then again, if you want, you can take your right hand to that right hip and reach the left arm up and over. Finding a side body stretch there. And coming back to center and releasing from that. Walking back up to the top of the mat. And we're going to make our way down to a reclined position. And right away, you can hug the knees in towards the chest. Once you get there, rock side to side a little bit. Allow the face to release, the jaw to release, the shoulders. Feeling that stretch in the legs. Little massage for the back. We're going to do just a bit of abdominal work before we kind of cool things down here. So taking your right knee in towards your chest, your left leg can be hovering above the mat. And then we'll switch sides. Right foot pushes away and left foot pushes away. Just taking those laced fingers from side to side. And if you want, you can lift the head and the chest up off of the mat as you continue to take that kind of bicycling motion with the legs. Pushing and pulling, staying steady in the upper body. And then let's release the feet down onto the mat. Take the hands to your sides and maybe sway the legs a bit side to side, just kind of releasing that. Finding the shoulder blades here plugging down onto the mat. The arms can plug down onto the mat, back of the head, hips. And we'll take hands around the back of the right leg and take a few ankle circles. Rotating through the ankle, moving in one direction and then the other. Hugging in a bit towards the hip crease, giving yourself a little stretch. Releasing that side, and we'll take the same thing on the opposite side, starting out with those ankle circles. Moving from side to side. Switching directions whenever you'd like to. And then pausing and taking a stretch, hugging in towards the hip crease. And then from here, you can take that right leg and extend it long. It can be angled up a little bit more towards the ceiling to give you a little more support in the back, or it can be hovering a little bit closer towards the floor. And we're going to lift the upper body. If that feels bad for you, you can have the low body or the upper body kind of planted down on the mat too. So climb the hands up. You can point the toes. We'll take a little pulse with that right leg and then a little pulse with that left leg as you continue to switch sides, coming into our straight leg scissors. Continuing with that little pulse on the bottom leg and maintaining core strength and stability in the upper body as you move through the lower body. And then releasing from that, hands can come to the knees, and we're going to take both knees over towards the right, reach the left arm out towards the left, taking a twist, getting a little stretch. And then coming back to center, taking legs over towards the left, right arm can reach out towards the right. And coming back through to center, we're going to come into, well, some people call it bicycle. I always call it crisscross. Hands can come to the back of the head. And then from here, we're going to rotate over towards the right. So rotating the chest, we'll extend that left leg and then switch sides. Continuing to keep the chest lifted, rotate the chest from side to side as you bicycle the legs. Keeping the chest open. And then releasing from that. Planting the feet, you can let the two knees kind of fold in on one another. Just take a couple of breaths here. And then pulling the knees in, you can take hands to the backs of the thighs or the soles of the feet as you come into happy baby pose. Perhaps again, rocking just a little bit side to side. And then releasing from that, you can extend the legs long or come into any variation of resting pose that you'd like to take. You could be seated, you could be reclined. Taking a few moments to settle in. Settling into a place of stillness. And wherever you are, perhaps reconnecting with that image of the mountain, reconnecting with that image of being solid and rooted and grounded right here, right now, in this moment. While you're here in this quiet space, I have a quote to share with you from Winston Churchill. And I think it's kind of a good reminder of the importance of trying to stay grounded and how much can happen just within our own minds. So he said, "When I look back on all these worries, I remember the story of the old man who said on his deathbed that he had had a lot of trouble in his life, most of which had never happened." I'd like to thank you all so much for sharing your practice and sharing your positive energy with each other and with me this morning. Namaste.